Welcome back, and today I'm going to talk to you about the first project that I ever did. It was crazy. There was break-ins, there was crackheads, there was money lost on crazy stuff that I never thought would come up. In the end, I ended up making around $175,000, but it did come with a lot of work. There's so many lessons that I learned on that project, and I wanted to make this video to share that journey with you so that hopefully you can use it as a guide and learn from these mistakes. My name is James Fernandez, and I've done around 150 or so residential unit renovations. I'm now working on developing my self-storage portfolio. I've got 3 facilities right now, and I'm working on another facility in Florida right now that's 1,000 units. This project was in London, Ontario. It was a duplex that was kind of dumpy. When I walked in, kind of the first thing I noticed was there's crazy smell of cat pee. The walls were stained with cigarette smoke. The floor was kind of sloping a little tiny bit. None of these things really scared me away because the price was so good, and I knew that there would be multiple exit strategies. That's kind of tip number 1. Make sure that you have multiple exit strategies on anything that you're buying. You got to know if this plan A doesn't work, you got to have a plan B. In an upward market where there's a lot of competition, it's more of a seller's market, and you feel the pressure to buy, you could get kind of emotionally tied up in a deal where you might end up making a bad decision just because you get so caught up in the moment. We need to be able to set our emotions aside from these types of things and run our numbers solely on merit. Well, what does this actually mean? It means you need to know your costs. You need to know your cost of the renos, of course, but also, what about the cost for closing and holding the property when you first buy it? What about the costs for insurance and taxes while you're holding the project? And what about the cost for sale or refinance when you're ending the project? All of these little small costs really add up and could put you in a bad spot. Obviously, there's things that could go wrong that you aren't even expecting at all, and that's really what happened to me here. I wanted to go over a few of those things and how I ended up getting through those difficulties. When I first walked through the property and I was trying to estimate the renovation budget, I had come up with a budget of around $75,000. And that included a lot of cosmetic renovations in the basement and kind of heavier renovations in the upper unit. That included new flooring, new paint, new kitchens, a new bathroom, and that was going to be in both units, $75,000. I ended up spending $110,000, and here's why. The first reason was that as soon as we started opening up a little bit of the basement, I found that there was black mold everywhere behind every piece of drywall in the basement. And when we did a little bit more digging, we found that there's absolutely no insulation or vapor barrier in the basement. It was devastating to me. It basically added another month and 30 grand to the project. That meant a month of tearing out all the old moldy drywall, sanitizing everything to make sure the mold is gone, spray foaming the basement to make sure it's sealed and insulated, and then putting up new drywall and framing everywhere. While doing this, we also ended up finding that a few of the joists were rotted and broken, so we had to end up jacking up a little bit of the house and replacing those joists as well. It's easy to get caught up in those moments and start freaking out about all the things going wrong, but I still knew that there was a strong exit strategy. The next kind of unforeseen thing that happened was COVID. This was in February of 2020 that I started this project, and when it started coming into March and April, COVID really started shutting things down. One of my initial exit strategies was creating a very classy executive style Airbnb so that I could rent it out to people visiting for tourism, but there's absolutely no tourism happening basically after April of 2020. I started pivoting my project so that I could cater more towards an upper end tenant. This would be a tenant that would appreciate the quartz countertops, really nice kitchens, really nice bathrooms. But the problem is this area doesn't change. So even if you renovate it super nice, your neighborhood still won't change after all those renovations. So you have to balance those things as well. This was a B-class neighborhood, not an A-plus neighborhood. So even if I had built the Taj Mahal, the B-class neighborhood really drags down those values and the quality of the tenants that want to live there. After going through all of those things, I experienced yet another difficulty, which was a break-in. So someone smashed the glass door at the back, the sliding patio door, and came inside, stole a bunch of stuff, damaged a bunch of stuff. It was another heartbreak on this project. Obviously a couple thousand, several thousand in damage and missing equipment and tools and materials. We were able to recover a few of these things on the bushes and trees and grass on the path of their getaway. Still another frustrating event that set back the project another week or two and cost another few $1,000s. When I look back at this project now, I think of the experience I bring to the table and how I could have done it more efficiently and more cheaply and everything like that. And I know now that project would, with all the problems, still cost me around that $75,000. But that was my first project ever. It basically cost me around $45,000 to learn how to deal with all of those bad things that came my way. And my question to you then, if you're thinking about getting into a project but kind of being scared of approaching something like that project, is how much did your university education cost you? How much did your college education cost you? How much did a coaching program cost you? It could be thousands of dollars. And setting aside what I like to call the idiot fund for a project like that where you get the hands-on experience, I don't think there's a better way to spend money on educating yourself, and that is one of the best ways to do it, with the hands-on education. Obviously, videos like this are supplemental information. At some point, you got to get off the couch, you got to get off your bed, and you got to put the work in. One of the cool quotes I heard recently from my friend Amar is, "The work works on you more than you work on the work." Basically what that means is, as you're going through the difficulty of that process, it's hardening you, it's improving you, it's strengthening you in some way that you maybe don't appreciate yet, but it's preparing you for what's to come. The next time you approach a project like that, you're going to know what to do immediately. With the experience that I have now, I know a project like that, nothing would really bother me that comes up, because I know how to deal with all of these things that come up. It's just a phone call away in most cases now. But at that level of experience for me, whereas my first project, I still didn't have the experience or network or connections that I do now. Pretty much anything that came up was devastating to me. It was like the world was ending. And what I'm hoping that videos like this can do for you is create a guidebook so that you know how to deal with a few different things that come up. It's not the end of the world, and in most cases, it is just a phone call away to solve. Towards the end of the renovation, I started getting an appraisal, and I started looking at the refinance and getting tenants in and everything like that. I ended up refinancing the project for around $450,000, and that's with a roughly $200,000 purchase price, a $15,000 wholesale fee, and about $110,000 in renovation and holding costs. This allowed me to pay back all of the debt of the initial mortgage, the renovation, the holding costs, everything like that, and have a little bit of money that I was able to use on other projects. About a year after that, I was able to sell this property to actually the tenants of the upper unit, and they were able to use this project as a house hack for them while they saved up money for their dream home. Overall, if you're stuck in analysis paralysis, just trying to figure out what your next move is, I want to give you strong action items to take that first step. The first one, network. Get out there. Start talking to people about what your goals are, what you want to do, how you want to get there. Some people are going to shit on your dreams. It's part of the game, but it's okay. Sometimes that type of feedback is really effective in honing down what you actually want. I'll give you an example. Let's just say you start talking to everyone about, I want to buy a duplex, I want to buy a duplex. People start saying to you, there's not a lot of duplexes for sale. You'll never find one. You'll never get one for a good price. You start doing a little bit more research, you start getting more into it, and then you realize, maybe I can find a very specific type of thing. This is called niching down. And that's actually what step number 2 is. I want you to niche down. Instead of telling people, I want to buy a duplex, start telling them, I want to buy a property in a zone that allows for duplexes. This property can't have foundation damage or anything crazy structural. Cosmetic repairs are fine. Maybe if the tenants are there, it's okay. You want the basement to have enough ceiling height to accommodate another unit. You want to make sure there's enough parking for both of the tenants to have parking spaces. It doesn't necessarily have to be separately metered for electrical, water, or gas. Those are things you can do. If you start niching down and being much more specific in your ask, I promise you, people will start thinking of you when you start telling them very specific things. Don't be scared to be a little embarrassed. Don't be scared to ask dumb questions. And most importantly, don't be scared to fail in a safe environment and in a safe way. You can do that as part of our SKOOL community, or you can do that as part of a Facebook group. You can do that as part of a different coaching program. You need to have an environment where you can ask these questions around people that are doing what you're doing or what you want to do. That way you can accelerate your growth, and videos like this will basically serve as a guide to answer quick, deliberate questions rather than you just consuming content kind of as a pastime. You're procrastinating by just consuming content without taking any action. Next up on the action plan, I want you to focus on building your credit and building your access to money. What does that look like? It means making sure that you don't have any unpaid debt, making sure that you don't have any unresolved loans, making sure that you don't have any stupid consumer debt that's just wasting your time and money. It could also mean talking to your friends and family about your upcoming plans and talking to them about how you plan to develop this real estate path. Next up on the action plan is education. You need to make sure that you know what the hell you're doing. You can't be using other people's money, and you can't be stepping into projects without any education at all. Obviously, there's going to be things that come up that you don't yet know how to deal with when you're first starting. You need to know how to run the numbers. You need to have a basic understanding of the construction process. You need to be able to know how the financing works when you're getting into and out of a project, and you need to be able to pivot into other plans when the time comes up. If these are shortcomings on your end right now, videos like this are created for you. This series is basically talking about all of these different things that I've learned so that you can use it as an action plan and you can use it as a guide. Over the last 4 years, I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm trying to compile all of the knowledge that I've gained from those mistakes and put it into a video series for you. This is a targeted series on taking action. If you're ready to take the next steps, but you just don't know what's next, this series is for you. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram. Of course, you can also join our SKOOL community and message in the community thread. There's 100-something people in there that are ready to help and answer, ready to learn as well. Of course, I'll be messaging in there, answering any questions that come up and sharing whatever information that I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course, comment down below if you'd like to see more videos like this.